We've only gotten 4 episodes, and I have to say, this has been the best 4 episodes I think that I've seen in a really long time.
Yes! Yeah!
Because usually the beginning of Love is Blind, the first couple of episodes are kind of like, all right, everyone's talking to each other and getting to know each other and speaking in platitudes and talking about how much they love each other. Guys, this season of Love is Blind has delivered on the drama in just like the last 4 episodes. The first 4 episodes, not even the last. The first 4 episodes have already delivered on the drama, and I'm here to recap and talk to you all about it. And today, I've already watched all 4 episodes. I've already done it all. I already know everything to come. So let's just get straight into it with our first episode recap. Of course, I will be recapping each episode as I go along. Oh man. Ooh. Especially because there were so many things I did not see coming. So season 5, episode 1 of Love is Blind starts off with an introduction of the preview of the season, which, guys, just the preview alone, I was like, okay, this season's gonna be juicy. This season is going to be juicy. And then they, of course, show Nick and Vanessa coming in and going to the girls' headquarters, the guys' headquarters, and basically, introduce themselves. Everyone knows who you are. They're like, are you here to find love? Blah, blah, blah. All the same stuff. And then they disappear. Don't really care because we're not going to see them again until probably like episode 6, maybe. I think that's maybe. I don't know. Whatever. So we start off with Miss Lydia. And guys, I'm going to be posting pictures of our wonderful season 5 contestants because Lydia, Lydia is going to be, I think she might be the villain of the season. I'm just going to call it now. And I hate to say it because she is a Puerto Rican. She is, she is one of my peoples. But man, I think she's gonna be the villain of the season. Things could change, but as of the first 4 episodes, guys, villain. So Lydia's Puerto Rican. She is very out there, loud, very crazy. She says that she calls herself crazy. She says that she's been called too much. And at first I was like, Latinas, we're very fiery, we're very passionate, we're loud people. It's very hard to usually find a Latina that's not like fiery, at least a Puerto Rican. We spicy. I know we are, but I was like, okay, she might just be a little cuckoo. She just might be loud, but the tables start turning, and I'm like, I see it. The first person she meets is Milton. And Milton is very passionate about geology just as much as she is. She is a geologist and he is an engineer. They kind of bond. They start talking about rocks and things that no one else, unless you're a geologist, would know about. But then she finds out that he is a striking 24 years old and she is 30. And she just basically kind of turns off, and you could tell her mind just goes, whoop, not for me. So she moves on, and then she meets Izzy. Ooh, Izzy's a popular one this season. He is the one that all the girls want. Oh, it gets crazy.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
I didn't know, but man, wow. So Izzy meets he also meets Lydia. I believe he is half Mexican, so he kind of understands the Spanish Latino thing. And he's an insurance agent. He's dated a lot of women, but he is very insecure about his baldness. And I was like, oh, I mean, I've never thought about if I would not date a guy because he was bald. I don't know. I've never really thought about it, but I mean, he's a good looking guy. There's nothing about him that's like turn offish. He's in real good shape. He's got a nice body. Like, I don't know, but there's women out there that I'm sure are a little, including Lydia. But then after he meets her, he does connect with this other woman named Stacy. And then he also connects with this girl named Johnny. And this is when everything starts getting crazy, because this is when you realize, okay, so Izzy's going to be the one. He's going to be the one that's going to be, and everyone's going to want to be with him, and he's going to have to make that one decision on who he wants to be with. But he meets with Stacy. Stacy seems fine. I mean, I know I've heard some people being like, I think Stacy's going to be a problem. So far, I can see how it can turn into something of an issue eventually. I do see a little bit of some, I don't know. But there's some other people that I think need some extra screen time. So let's just get into it. We meet Johnny, and she seems very nice and sweet, and it's like just trying to find the right guy for her. Her mom has told her in the past that she doesn't believe that she's ever going to meet anyone, which, my God, what a lovely mother. How encouraging.
What are you doing?
I'm burying you.
I'm alive! I'm alive!
You're waking the neighbors! Shut up!
How encouraging. But she says that she feels very comfortable with Izzy. We find out that Johnny has been married before and Izzy has been engaged. So they really connect on that feeling of like what people will think of them, because they've kind of already made it to the next step and it didn't work out in a way. Then we meet Chris. I think he seems very sweet, very cute. He said that like a lot of people, when they see him, they think he's a playboy. And I'm like, I looked at him and I'm like, I didn't get that vibe. I don't know. I don't know. But like from what I was seeing, he didn't strike me as someone who I would first see and be like, ooh, he's a player. He's a playboy. He likes to mess around with women. Like, I don't know. I didn't see that, but that's what he says he is known for. But he meets Johnny, they connect, and he feels very good about her. He's like, oh man, like I feel like I'm connecting right away with this person. There's something there. Then we meet Taylor. Taylor meets this guy named JP. JP is a firefighter. Seems like a nice guy, very southern. They both seem very, everyone, by the way, this season takes place in Houston. Anyway, we find out that Taylor, I think she's a teacher. She didn't love herself in the past. And now she does. She's come around. She's a new woman. She believes in everything that she is. Blah, blah, blah. Therapy. I feel like there's going to be some therapy involved, or therapy has been involved. I don't know. The preview kind of made it seem like some stuff's going to go down. But JP is a firefighter, we find out. He says he would cook for her. He loves to cook. Taylor's into him. And at first, I was like, wait, I don't know if he feels the same way about her. I don't know. Like, because she seems very like, yes, like he's, like, I really like him, blah, blah, blah. And he just seems kind of, I don't know, like, quiet. And then he leaves the room and he's like, yeah, I think I'd propose to this woman. I'm like, oh, well, I was wrong. I was clearly very, very wrong. Very, very wrong. Then we meet Uche, Uche's another one who I think I had pegged wrong. Uche, at first, I was kind of like, he's a lawyer. I don't know the way his vibe is. He's kind of very analytical. I don't know. I didn't know how I felt about him. But I came around. But he meets this girl named Miriam. And at first I was like, oh, okay, this might be a good vibe. And then it kind of took a turn left. Took a left turn. I was like, wait a minute. I'm very confused. So she said she works in Abu Dhabi, but is moving back to the States, but then says that she already moved. But then she says she's moving her things. And I'm like, okay, so what does she do? And then we find out that she is working on a skincare company, and then he like asks her questions about the skincare company, and she's very like, well, it's not necessarily like skincare, so then what is it? And she kind of I don't know what she does, let's just say it, and it just seems very shady. And I'm glad that Uche has moved on from that, because then he starts talking to Aaliyah, who we're all like probably watching at the same time, be like, ooh, this seems like a good couple, ooh, this looks nice.
Got him!
We all know where things lead by episode 4. We all know. At this time, we didn't know, but we will know. But Uche, like I said, is a lawyer, but he owns his own software company. He just asks a lot of questions. Like, you can tell he's very much trying to find out more about the person that he's getting to know, which is okay. So we have Stacy and Izzy, who are continuing to connect. Both are very loud, and he loves that. But he is also feeling Johnny at the same time, because he feels that she's very calm and different, and they have a very like emotional connection. But he really, really still likes Stacy. And at this point, I was still like, I have a feeling he's still gonna choose Stacy though. He's not gonna choose the one. He's gonna choose the one that he can be funny and loud and be quote unquote himself with. And Johnny is just gonna be like, like he's not gonna feel it. Just saying. I deserved points because I was right. Then we move on into Johnny and Chris, and we have a very, very interesting conversation. So they talk about how they lost their virginity. So Johnny says, she lost her virginity to this guy, whatever. It happens. Then she asks Chris about how he lost his virginity, and this is when things got interesting. Because she said, "How do you lose your virginity?" He's like, "Well, I told people that I lost my virginity to this girl in junior year of college." And I was like, or high school. And I was like, and then he's just silent. It's really awkward. Music's tensing up. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, okay. I'm like, oh my God, is he a virgin? Did he lie to people telling them they lost their virginity and he's not? And he's still a virgin? That's where I thought this was going. It did not. It did not go into that, and it actually ended up being a lot more serious than that. So basically, he tells a story about how he went to Mexico with his friends when I think he was in high school or something like that, and he was at a hotel with these other girls, and basically, he didn't feel very good about it at the end of it, if you know what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying not to get into too crazy details because this is YouTube, and then there'll be a whole bunch of other things. So you understand, you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. So it was very interesting, and we are living in a day, I think, now where people are trying to see things from a different perspective, because for so many years, and society has really put it into our minds and brains that it's, oh, the woman's always the one that's being pressured, when really it's not always like that. And it was very nice to see that story being shown to us on screen, and I applaud him for being very vulnerable in that and really telling Johnny what had happened, because he didn't have to tell her that. He didn't have to tell anyone that. He could have taken that shit to the grave if he wanted. But yeah, he felt safe talking to Johnny about this. I find it that I think he's very cute, but at this point I was scared for him. I said, oh no, Johnny gonna break his heart. She gonna break his heart because she is so into Izzy, and you could just tell. I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And boy, was I right. Man, I should have gotten money for every time I called something right, Move on into Lydia. And yes, and I know for a fact she's going to be that one person you do not want to be in a fight with. And we see it in the preview. We see her going off at someone. And now at this point, I know exactly who she's going off at, but we'll get there. But, she says she's connecting with Izzy. She's talking with Izzy, and she's like, oh my God, I'm connecting with you. I like you so much. And he is on the other side like, fuck. Because he knows he doesn't feel that way about her. And I said, oh wow, here we go, we're gonna break some hearts. Let's start breaking hearts. Then we move on into Uche and Alea, and they're also connecting again. They really connect on the fact that they really love spoken word poetry. What are your thoughts about spoken word poetry? I'm not really good at knowing how it really goes, to be completely honest. I'm also just not really good into poetry. Like, I think spoken word, like when I listen to it, seems very powerful. But man, I feel like I'd have to like be watching like a Christopher Nolan movie when people are doing spoken word. I don't know, that's me. Like I have to be like, wait, let me think about everything they just said, kind of thing, Then we have JP and Taylor. At this point I was already calling it. I'm like, yep, first they're gonna get engaged first. I'm calling it now. Then we have Stacy, because we have Stacy talking about how she's approaching the living in the women's headquarters, and how she's keeping all her cards to herself. She's not really telling anyone in the house who she's interested. And I'm like, girl is smart. Just you do you. Focus on your relationships, because the moment you start telling people like, oh, well, I like this person and I like this person and blah 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 blah, it can really start to mess with you. Because yeah, smart. She's a smart cookie. She's a smart cookie, that one. Stacey's smart. Then we have Izzy, who finally decides to not finally, saying it like he did, like it's been years, but he does eventually break up with Lydia, and it's really awkward. It is so awkward in that room. Oh my God. He says that he's missing the chemistry. She starts crying. She doesn't understand. And she's like, well, tell me the reason though. What's the reason? And I'm like, well, he just told you. He just doesn't feel like the chemistry is there, and he's building a connection that's stronger with somebody else. At the end of the day, like, not everyone's going to like you, and that sucks. No one wants to be rejected. No one wants to be told, I don't like you. I don't want to be with you. But not everyone is going to feel the same way you feel about them, unfortunately. We've all been there. We've all liked a guy or liked a girl, and they didn't like us back the same way and just saw friendship, or just were like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the connection's not there. You don't feel that way about them. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's just he's not your person, and vice versa. But yeah, she takes it real bad. She takes it real bad. So then we go into Alea and Uche. And y'all, this is when everything just starts. The string starts to unravel. We're going into the end of episode 1 now, guys. It starts to unravel. Alea says that she feels very secure with Uche. But at this point, when I was watching this, I couldn't really tell, like, his personality. I was still trying to figure out, like, does he like to laugh? Like, he just seems really serious. Like, I don't know. But they eventually get into a very serious topic, which is, what is, like, regrets that you have? What is something, like, have you ever cheated on anyone? And I was like, oh, all right, okay. And Aaliyah's very quiet, and I was like, fuck. I said, she's cheated on someone, hasn't she? Yep. She's definitely cheated on someone. And, yep. They talk about it, and he asks her, like, oh, when did you cheat on someone? And she was like, 2 years ago. And then he says, ooh. And this is when if you're the opposite, if you're the other person on the receiving end, this would burn you. He said, oh, so you're a recent cheater. I said, this ain't going good. This is bad. This is bad. He kind of starts off being a little bit kind of passive aggressive, but asking. When I first watched it, I felt like he was like kind of. It did feel in the moment. At first, I thought that it was like I felt like he was judging her a little bit and attacking her in a little way. But then I started to think about it more, and I was like, but wait a minute. She did cheat on someone, and then we find out that she'd never even told him that she cheated on him. And you know, as Uche getting this information for the first time, obviously you're going to be very like shocked, taken aback, because this is someone you've created a really good connection with, and then they tell you they cheated on someone. Obviously that's going to turn your world upside down in that moment, and you're really going to be like, well, shit, like, was she going to cheat on me? Obviously the doubts start creeping in. It's recent. It wasn't like 10 years ago. It wasn't 5. It was 2. And in his mind, he's like, well, that's yesterday. Like, that's not a long time. He starts asking, like, well, why did you stay with him? How long were you with him after you cheated? And she said, I stayed with him for 3 months after. And it's like, oh my God. Or like, why didn't you break up with him? And, you know, it gets really, he does ask this one very good question, was, why didn't you tell him that you cheated on him? And she says, well, I didn't want to hurt him. And in that moment, I thought, well, no, you didn't want to tell him because you knew what that was going to do to your insides, how guilty you were going to feel if you weren't already feeling guilty. You were already going to have that rejection to your face, and you didn't want to deal with that, and that's why you didn't tell him. So it's not about him, it was about her. And Uche does call her out on it. And at first, like I said, I felt a little bit like, I don't know why he's asking her these questions. And I'm like, wait a minute, rewind, Melody, let's rethink the situation here. And it is true, she was protecting herself. She wasn't protecting him. She was protecting himself. And the fact that he was calling her out on her BS, that affected her in a way that she just felt like she was being judged. She felt upset. She started crying. She leaves the room. And, like, you know, while he was still trying to talk to her, and he does say, like, you know, I do applaud you for telling me that, and that must have been hard. But at this point, she has left the room because she's so distraught. And, y'all, this is when the villain, the arc for Lydia turning into a villain slowly starts to show itself. And Lydia and Aaliyah are discussing the heartbreak, and she weirdly calms her down. Almost sounds like she was being very witchy about it, and I didn't really like it, because she kept saying, like, you and me, we're the same. I see myself in you. It was very weird. And then she started, like, saying, like, oh, he doesn't deserve you, like, all this stuff. And I'm just like,
what the fuck is going on in here on this day?
This is weird. And like the way the camera was was focusing on other people's to her reactions to the way she was talking. I was like, why are they really? I was like, do they know something? Like, what's going on here? And eventually we do find out. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. But in the moment, I was like, this is weird. This is weird. I don't like it. This is weird. It sounds weird. It sounds very, very weird. But anyway, let's get into episode 2, guys. We start off with Milton and Lydia talking. Lydia basically opens up to him and tells him, like, Izzy broke up with me and it hurt me. And she just wants to be loved and she craves it. I'm like, that is your detriment right there. You want to be loved so badly. You want someone to accept you so badly. That's going to be your own detriment because you're going to settle for someone that you're not really into because you just like the fact that they're reciprocating and they will give you that closure. They will give you that love even though you might not feel that way. And y'all, it's happened to Milton. I'm like, Milton, get out of there. Run, buddy. Run. He's a very lanky guy. I'm like, run. Please run. You know, Milton really likes her at this point, and she wants him to be more vulnerable because he's so attracted, and he talks about how he's so attracted to her because she's so emotionally available and very emotionally there, and he is not. He's a very reserved guy. He's not very emotional at all. He was born in Hawaii, we found out, but lived in Japan. A lot of people who lived in Japan on this show. I was like, pro Japan. I love Japan. I love that place. I love it. So we get into JP and Taylor, who are another couple who I said, okay, let's just get to the meeting because I know y'all are going to be the first to get engaged, but we got to get some stuff, right? So we find they're very, very vulnerable with each other. We find out that JP had a very angry mom who always yelled at his sisters because of, like, her own relationship problems with their dad. So he had a really tough childhood, and I was like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. It's upsetting. It really is. And Taylor, the whole time, I kept thinking how Taylor reminds me of Micah so freaking much. And I think it's like the hair. I think it's like the way she sits. They have a very similar vibe, very similar look. I'm just like, it's like another Micah here. Here we go. Micah part 2. But Taylor and JP, in this moment, drop the I love yous. Let's go. Let's start with the I love yous throughout the season. Yeah, they're the first to drop the I love yous, right? Then we move into Aaliyah and Uche, and Uche finally, he says he apologizes and says that he has issues with trusting people, and that's probably why he did come off as that he was judging her. And y'all, I think he had the right to be upset. I don't think there was anything wrong with him being upset in finding out the news that the person you're connecting with cheated on someone, and it was recent. It's completely okay. I don't know if he necessarily had to really apologize. He might have just wanted to make her feel better by apologizing, but he did it. And he talks to her and tells her that he does appreciate that she came forward to tell the truth to him because he didn't have to. She forgives him, and they promise to be there for one another and trust each other and not push each other away, blah, 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 blah. Now, at this moment, I'm not sure about it. I'm like, is this a red flag relationship? I feel like there's some red flags here. There's some red flags, and we need to figure out what the flags are. But I feel like they're a little red. They're a little red. We move back into Stacey and Izzy, who, calling it now, they would be the second couple to get engaged. I'm calling it. I was right. Izzy says that Stacey hasn't been vulnerable with him, though, and that he wants her to be more vulnerable. And at this point, he's just like, oh, but he likes both Stacey and Johnny. And Stacey just keeps talking about, she's just like, I'm just not there. Like, I'm not very good with that. We have a lot of people on the show who the opposite people are not very good with being vulnerable and being emotional. And I'm like, y'all, come on. But I really felt at this moment, I was like, no, but he is still gonna pick Stacey. Like, I just felt it in my bones. Then we have Chris and Johnny. Oh, Lord. So begins the breakdown. So Chris drops the in love with you line to her, and she does not say it back. And that's when I knew. I said, well, she didn't say it back. She does not feel the same way. And she goes to talk to Izzy, and she says that, oh, I don't know, like, when I'm with Izzy, I just feel differently. Like, he does have a crush on me. Like, I have a crush on Izzy. Like, I feel the butterflies every single time I'm in the room with him. Like, I have such a crush, and I don't feel that when I'm with Chris. And I'm like, girl, okay then. So then don't be running back to Chris later when freaking Izzy breaks up with you. So we go back to Izzy and Johnny. We find out that he grew up a Jehovah's Witness, and he couldn't really do anything, couldn't celebrate holidays, and he's really excited to be able to be part of a family that does do those things because he never had that as a child, and he wants to be able to experience that with a loved one. We find out that he didn't know that his dad wasn't his real dad until he was like, his cousin told him when he was like a teenager. What? Now that would rock your world if you found out your dad was not your dad. Like, that is absolutely crazy. Crazy. Oh, and this was the moment. This was the moment, guys, when I said, Johnny, red flag, villain tendencies. Villain, red flag tendencies. I see it. I see it. It was in this moment because she said, Izzy asks her how she feels about the other people in the pod who she's connecting with. And she says, oh, I'm really connecting with Chris as well, but I only see a friendship with him. I don't feel that same way that I feel about you with him. He feels more friendship. And I said, okay, I heard what you said. I heard what you said, and I'm going to keep that in my mind for the next time you talk to Chris. I'm going to keep that in my mind. And good thing I did, because, God, I got so pissed. I got so pissed with what is to come. See, I told you I'm passionate. It's the Puerto Rican in me. Puerto Rican, Dominican me. See, I am spicy. I'm just not crazy. Then we have Taylor and JP. They getting engaged. Yay, called it. Moving on. Chris and Johnny talking, and he is so into her. He's so into her. But you could tell she's not feeling the same way, and she pretty much breaks up with him. She tells him that she has a stronger emotional connection with someone else. She feels really bad about doing this to him. He is distraught. He's on the other side, like with his head down, like just, you can tell he's hurting. And I felt really bad. I felt it for him. I felt really, really bad. Then we have Izzy and Johnny going back to chat. And this is, ooh, God, it was bad.
Here we go! Here the fuck we go! Here the fuck we go!
She tells Izzy, and this is when I'm so glad we were all here to witness it. And I'm so glad that Izzy and Chris eventually talk about it because, man, oh man, she gets caught in her own lies. She gets caught because even I was like, wait a minute. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Johnny tells Izzy that she feels that Chris was her safer option. That he made her feel like everybody else did, and that was her safer option, and she wanted to go with Izzy because she felt differently about him. Safer option. Remember what I'm saying. And Izzy talks about how he's scared of being abandoned and was very damaged from his last relationship. And Johnny goes on to talk about how in her last relationship, which was her longest relationship, she was with someone who had an addiction, and he died from a drug overdose. But this was the crazy part, guys. So I had to rewatch it to really understand what she said because I was very confused, and I was also upset. I was also confused as to why Izzy was taking it the wrong way or why he was upset about it, because I was like, wait, what'd she say? So she was married to this guy for a really long time. Then she broke up with him because he couldn't get over his addiction, and then she rebounded and married this man who she actually had rebounded off, and she never actually loved this man. What? And then this is the crazy thing, is that she calls herself a walking red flag. I'm like, yes, and you just told the guy that you're really into that you are a red flag, and he is going to be running away from this situation. Because obviously he's like, wait, so you married someone after being a rebound, you weren't in love with him, and then you guys broke off your marriage because you found out that the guy that you were originally in love with, that you left because had a drug addiction, died of a drug overdose. Yes, that's a lot to take in. At first, I was literally like, wait, what? Why is he so upset? Like, why is he feeling confused? And then after I rewatched it, I said, oh, okay, it's coming back to me. I'm getting it. I'm understanding what in the actual hell. But she still thinks that she is worthy of love. And yes, she is. But girl, this sounds real bad. Izzy, like I said, is really off guard. He's overwhelmed by the fact that she loved this person so much that he doesn't know if she could actually love him or love somebody else. Like, that freaks him out. And granted, would freak me out. So in the end, Johnny leaves the room and says, goes back into the woman's headquarters, and she's like kind of gossiping, putting Stacey down, and is basically like, if he picks Stacey in the end, like, he's gonna regret it. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. I have nothing bad to say about Stacey yet, but here we go. Here we go. Then we have JP and Taylor. They get ready to meet for the first time. The doors close. End of episode 2. Episode 3 starts off with JP and Taylor meeting. And okay, all right, it all seems good. JP seems like a really sweet, a good guy. I put this in quotations because I really don't know. But I'm going to say, as of right now, I don't see any red flags with him. He just feels like they felt fine. He was very cute and like was kissing her, and it was really, really cute. But she, I think, was starting to feel a little bit weird because when they were sitting together, like, it was kind of quiet, and you could tell he was like probably just really nervous and didn't really know what to say, and she was probably caught off guard because when you're in the pods, you're talking all the time, and then now it's like this moment, and you're like, why are there pauses? Why is he not talking? What's going on? Why are we not connecting? And I'm like, all right, just give him some time. You know, he's probably really nervous. He just met you for the first time. You know, like, it's fine. He'll be fine. Just give him some time. Then we then we're back with Stacey and Izzy, who both have fears of abandonment. So does everyone. No one wants to be with someone and then be left afterwards, right? Nobody wants that. Then we have Uche and Aaliyah, and we find out that he is a very OCD kind of guy. Not surprised. He strikes me as someone who is OCD like no other. I'm like, yep, not shocked. Not shocked by it at all. They just talk about their weird quirks and her thing about, like, her elbow skin. She likes to play with it. Her weenus, I think it's called. Okay, weird quirks, whatever. Then we have Milton and Lydia. And the more I see this relationship unfold in front of us, the more I'm like, dude, she is not the one. She's not the one. I highly doubt it. If they get married at the end of this, guys, I would be shocked. And if they did get married, nope. We find out that Milton had scoliosis, and this is when I knew. I knew for a while, but this is when it really, like, I was like, yep. She's going to eat this man alive in the real world. Like, when they get out of this bubble, she will eat this man alive. Literally eat him alive. He was talking, and she was trying to console him by being like, oh, like, but I'd be here if I would be there for you no matter what, blah, blah, blah. And he's kind of like just talking, not over her, but he just keeps talking, and she's trying to talk, and she says,
but can you let me talk? And I said, oh.
That's it. As a Latina, the way she said, can you let me talk? Oh, that's when I knew. I said, oh. That's when I knew. I said, yep, this ain't gonna work. She's gonna eat him alive.
Well,
the moment they get into an argument outside of this bubble, she eat him alive. She's gonna chew him up. Like, he is so much more into her and not the other way around. I think Lydia is definitely telling herself that she's into Milton when she knows at the end of it she only wanted Izzy. So yeah, just saying. So we go back to Johnny and Izzy, and Johnny basically tells Izzy, you're the only one I want. She plays her cards and tells him everything. She's just like, I only want you. You're the one for me. I feel, I haven't felt this way about anyone since you, blah, 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 blah. And in the end, he ends things with her. Oh my God. He ends things with her. She does not take it well. Starts crying. And she leaves the room, and basically Johnny goes back to the house or to the headquarters and tells the other women what happened. And she says that she starts to wonder if she made the right decision in choosing Izzy over Chris.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
And I said, yep, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. Because what's going to happen? You're going to go back to your second choice because you don't want to leave alone. You don't want to leave saying that the experiment did not work for you. You want to leave with somebody. So what are you going to do? You're going to go back to your second choice. The person that you said to freaking Izzy you considered a friend, you're going to go back to him because you're going to feel like,
Oh, but Fine, maybe I should go back to my other option because, like, we had something there. Yeah, we had something there.
You're convincing yourself. It almost kind of reminds me of the whole Kwame situation where it was like, where Kwame was so into Micah and then he was like, well, I mean, I really like Chelsea. I mean, granted, they got married and they seem quote unquote happy, but I still don't really believe that relationship is stable. But if it is, it's from an outside perspective, that's how I see it. But if they're happy, good for them. So we moved to Stacey and Izzy talking, and they feel so good about each other. He feels like she knows him so well. It feels so easy with her. And Stacey just said, she's just not used to be emotional, and saying I love you is hard, because he does end up telling her that he is falling in love with her, and she doesn't really say it back. But I do think that she does really like him, though. I don't get any vibe from her that she's not into him. I do think she is into him, but yeah. So then we move into Chris and Johnny, and Johnny starts backpedaling, and I'm like, nope, this is bad. And the guys, this was the best. This was like the last, like, I think 15 minutes of this episode. And it was so juicy with the drama. It was so juicy. It was amazing. I loved every second of it. I loved every second of these last 2 episodes, really, in general. But, oh, my God. So Johnny's backpedaling, and she's like, oh, I want to be with you. I made a decision. I made the wrong decision. And this is when I was like, caught you, bitch. Caught you red-handed, you villain. You are a villain, and I caught you. She tells Chris that she was going with Izzy because Izzy was the safer option. And this is when I said, I don't buy this. Nope. He says that he wants to be with someone who doesn't think that he's as safe, that he's exciting, because she was like, you were somebody that was, making me feel safe and grounded, and I felt like that was something I already knew, and I just wanted something more exciting. And I'm like, well, you're just telling him exactly how you actually feel, and what you're saying is that he's not exciting you. So why would he want to be with someone who doesn't feel excitement to be with him? Like that is the clear choice. The clear choice is there. And she's telling you to your face that she does not feel that way about you, but at the same time is trying to convince you that she does. So, Chris, for the love of God, please run. This is a red flag. This is a bad idea. At this point, I still did think, though, that he was going to say yes to her. I was like, oh, I have a feeling this is going to be okay, I forgive you. Yes, let's go, right? But then this is when it got so good. Chris goes back to the men's headquarters, and him and Izzy talk. And I was so glad that they both laid out their cards on the table and said, well, she told me this. Really? Well, she told me the quite opposite of that. I said, thank you. Oh, resolved so easily, because right there and then Izzy tells Chris, oh, well, she told me the opposite thing. She told me that you were the safer option, and she wanted to be with me because he was a safe option. And he was like, what? Well, she told me that you were the safer option. And I said, Ben, that is all you need to know, that she's lying. And why? Because she's backpedaling, Chris. She is backpedaling, and she does not actually want to be with you. She just wants to be on the show. That's what's really going on. She wants to be on the show, and she wants to be like, well, maybe there's something there, when she knows that there's not. She already said she saw him as a friend. She already said she sees more friendship with him. Then why are you backpedaling now and being like,
No, Chris, no. I want to be with you. I only want to be with you. I made a mistake. No.
Liar. And I'm caught red-handed. And then this, guys, this is when my mouth literally dropped. I think my mouth was dropped for about 3 or 4 minutes after the episode ended, because I was shooketh to my core. So Aaliyah and Uche meet again, and we, they're all like, yay, everything's great. And then we find out that Uche has not been completely upfront with her about something. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? What is he not saying? Is this a joke? What's going on? He starts to say that on the first day coming into the experiment, he went into the room and he realized that the person on the other side was someone he had been who he had originally dated. Someone else he had dated in his past was in the pod across from him. And that person
Oh, no, 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 no.
was Lydia. Guys, when I tell you I was shook to my core, I could not freaking believe it. It all made sense. Why she was like, oh, you and me, we're the same, or like she was like taking him down because she was probably doing that on purpose because she was hurt that he like probably broke up with her or whatever went wrong. It all came full circle. It all came around, and I was like, well, shit. Turns out that Lydia and Uche had a relationship before this, and my mouth literally to the ground, dropped to the ground. Oh my God. So, all right, let's get into our last episode, episode 4, which honestly, I just wanted to keep going. I was so mad, guys. I was so mad that the show had to stop after episode 4. And now we have to wait a couple of days before episode 5 because my God, it's so good. So episode 4 starts off with a flashback of day 1 where you see Uche and Lydia meeting for the first time in the pods, and it's awkward. It is really awkward. And the worst part about all of this is that Lydia knew, and she was talking shit about him behind his back, literally talking shit about him. And Aaliyah's just like, oh, what? Like Lydia's my girl, and I'm like, okay. Friendships, okay. Lydia's my girl. Like, I love her. She's going to be there when I have my children. Like, that kind of friendship. I was like, all right, are y'all lesbians? What's happening here? Like, I hold hands with this girl. Like, she hugs me so hard. Like, she's been there for me, and now you're telling me that you used to date her. Like, this is gonna affect it. And like, she's been so supportive. I'm like, has she? Has she been very supportive? She's been supportive for you, but she wasn't supportive to him and being like, hey, like, give him time, like, he just find out you cheated on somebody before, and that's a lot. No, she was throwing him under the bus. She was saying like, oh, he doesn't deserve you, he shouldn't act this way. Yeah, I was like, Lydia, no, she's not the one. She is not the one. No.
The cheek, the nerve, the gall, the audacity, and the gumption.
But in the end, they're like, oh, we'll work through it. That we don't want to lose each other. But she feels that she does need to talk to Lydia because she is her best friend and she cares about her and she wants to make sure that there's no emotion still attached to this. And I want to rewind a little bit by talking about their meeting because this is when I'm like, again, I think people were caught red-handed saying things that they didn't actually said on camera. Lydia in the pods said, like, at first she recognizes Uche right away. Uche does not recognize her voice, and once she says like a specific thing, then he's just like, oh my God, Lydia, and she's like, yeah, it's me. And she is the one who says, oh well, like, now that we're in the pods, like, do you want to start from zero? Like, should we do that? And Uche is the one that says, no, we shouldn't do that. It didn't work out. We shouldn't do that. And it would make the experiment not make sense because we already know everything about each other. We know what we look like. It defeats the whole purpose of doing this experiment. And I'm like, Brent, great. Made the right choice. But then later on, Lydia says that it was him who said that he wanted to see if things were still there. I said, caught red-handed. Caught red-handed, sir. Basically, we move on to Stacey and Izzy. Izzy is going to propose. We all know. Once they put on the nice clothes, we know they're going to propose, right? And they do the slow motion of them walking to the room. I'm like, all right, they're proposing. So Izzy starts talking to her, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Basically, vows is what he's saying. Oh, I promise to be there for you, blah, blah, blah. All the platitudes that people always say in these shows. I don't even feel like even entertaining it because we all know the insane platitudes that are said. But he proposes and she agrees. She says yes. They're all happy. Woohoo! Yay. We go back to Johnny, who's in the room, who's really hurting when she sees Stacey walk into the room talking about the fact that she is engaged to Izzy. And she's just like,
oh my God, like, I can't believe he chose her, like, all this stuff.
And then literally a couple seconds later we'll say, but, Chris is here and, maybe I should give him a chance. Like, there was something there. I'm like, no, there wasn't.
Oh, hell no!
There wasn't. You're lying to yourself, and you're just saying this crap in order to stay on this show and in order to, pretend like there's something there, to try to convince yourself because you want to be loved. And that's okay. But he's not the one, and you know it. You know it. And God, it makes me feel bad for Chris. My God. So Chris and Johnny start talking. She says to him that she should have trusted how safe he made her feel, blah, blah, blah. Again, speaking in platitudes, speaking all this bunch of lies. Lies, lies. I don't believe her. I don't, not even for a second. Says that she just wants to be with him and nobody else. Again, lies. Chris, and this is when I was like, you know what, Chris, please take the high road. Please realize what is going on here. Please realize that you are the second choice, and she's not really choosing you. She's not. He says that he came here to find his wife, and that he thought he had. And I said, oh, Chris, are you choosing yourself? Are you gonna make the right choice? Please make the right choice. Please. And he says that he's always been the one to really put himself out there, give everything of himself. And in this time, this time he needs to be selfish and think of himself and his needs. And he wants to be with someone who chooses him, and that he just says he really can't be with her at this point. And I said, I clapped. I said, yes, Chris, yes. Thank you for choosing you. Please don't disappoint me in the rest of the season, please. Because if you leave now and close that book and just say, yeah, no, I will respect you so much more, and I will respect you wholeheartedly that you have chosen yourself and knew that this was not the person for you, because she did not choose you. She said no to you. So thank you. Okay, so then we move to Aaliyah and Lydia. Aaliyah and Lydia, what a name. Okay. And Aaliyah tells Lydia that she knows about her and Uche. And that and this is when I think Aaliyah starts to realize, like, okay, I don't like this friendship right now. This friendship is weird, and I'm not into it, and I don't need this information. So Lydia just starts talking about how she's like, oh, like, that's why he likes you, because you and me were so similar. Like, I was with Uche when I needed someone in my life, and then it didn't work out, and I don't know why, but this is the universe telling him that he needs to be with someone like me. And I was like,
wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
I'm sorry, what? What are you saying? What? And Aaliyah says, asks her, like, how does she feel about Uche now? And she says, oh, no, it's all in the past. But then she just starts going down this hole of being like, oh, I know everything about his dog. I know everything about his friends. Do you want me to tell you about his friends? Oh my God, you're going to get along with his friends. And oh my God, if you need any pointers about the dog, like, I know everything about his dog. The dog knows me. The dog knows everything about me. Oh my God. And Aaliyah's just like, no, I kind of just don't really want to know details. And she just keeps going and going and going. And Aaliyah, you can just tell, is getting so annoyed because she's like, girl, like, I don't want to know about the relationship you have with Uche. Like, the only thing I want to know is if you have feelings for him anymore. No? Okay, thanks. That's the only thing I need. But instead, Lydia is just continuing to spit out crap that she does not want to know. And then she tells her that 3 months ago, they had sex.
That a flag was still there.
I mean, what? What? I can't. Just, she's so annoyed. I'm like, girl, what is going on? So Aaliyah gets back in the room with Uche. And Aaliyah's just like, you know what? I'm just scared to trust. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't understand what's going on. I don't know how this is going to affect our relationship. But in the end, after all the speaking of stuff, I love you, I want to be with you, there's nothing there between me and Lydia. Aaliyah does say that, like, she said that you wanted to, see if there could be things. And he was like, I didn't say that. No, I did not say that. I'm like, thank you, Uche. Thank you. And the replay the tapes. It's going to happen anyway. Replay the tapes. Oh my God, this reunion is going to be freaking bomb. I already know it. But they eventually say, you know, we don't want the outside factors to affect our relationship. And they decide to continue to date. I'm like, great. Okay. They're like, oh, you're going to be my husband. Everything's great. Blah, blah, blah. Everything's great. So we think. Lydia and Milton are talking, and Lydia tells Milton about Uche, and he doesn't take it very well. But the way he doesn't take it very well is that he doesn't really say anything. And she's like trying to like get something out of him. He's just like, what are you thinking? Nothing. I'm like, girl, boy, oh, he's not ready. He is not ready for this relationship. He is not available for this relationship. She continues to try to reassure him, and he basically just says like, listen, I need 5 minutes. So Lydia's distraught, crying, obsessed, crying, and she goes back into the room in the headquarters, and Stacy's there, and Stacy's literally like, the only thing Stacy needed to do to make this even more like a movie was just literally slap her in the face, because she's literally like, girl, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. You just told him something that changes everything. You need to give him time to just, you know, take in the information, like it's okay, etc., etc. Eventually she does calm down. They go back into the room, and she's like, you know, if you would have known this earlier, like, would you have stopped talking to me? And he's just like, basically in the end, he's like, yeah, I think I would have, because this is all messy. And I'm like, it is. It's very messy. And Milton, you need to walk away from the situation like yesterday. Oh my God. But of course, she continues to reassure him and tells him that he's the one for her, that there's no one else there for her. Again, it's like Johnny telling Chris this. I'm like, lies. Your first choice was Izzy, and he said no to you. Same with Johnny. Izzy was your first choice, and he said no to you. And now you're going to your second choice. Stop fucking lying. Oh my God, you're lying. And I can't. Liars. Then we have Stacy and Izzy. They finally meet. And guys, the only thing I could think about was the suit that he was wearing was so tight that it looked like his ass was eating his suit. I was cracking up. I was legit cracking up seeing his ass being eaten by his jeans. Oh my God. It killed me. It was so funny. But there's lots of sexual energy here. Lots of sexual energy. And I'm like, he can't wait. He cannot wait to bang this girl. Like, abso-freaking-lutely. Oh my God. So then we go back to Lydia and Milton, and Milton, I feel for you, buddy. I feel for you so hard, because I know this is gonna be bad.
You psycho!
Ron, just go downstairs, Ron.
Get away from me, you psycho! Stay the away from me!
I just have a feeling. They talk, and Milton's like, do you think that age is going to be a factor? And she's like, no, age is just a number. It's not going to be an issue. I'm like, it's going to be an issue, because she's going to chew you alive. She's going to chew you up, and spit you out. I know it. But of course, she just keeps telling herself that she wants to be with him, or keeps telling him that she wants to be with him. She doesn't want to be with anyone else, that he's the one for her. Blah, blah, blah. Empty platitudes to me. Empty. Because I don't believe it. And he proposes to her in the end. He does. He proposes to her, and I'm like, no. Why, Milton? Why? No. And then, to end this episode, how freaking dare they Love is Blind? How dare you? Uche and Aaliyah. Uche's like, he's got his proposal outfit out, and he's like, oh, I want to be with Aaliyah. She's the one for me. I love her. I can't wait to marry her. All this stuff. He gets into the room, and he's like, hey, baby. There's no answer. And I'm like, oh, is she late? I'm like, oh, are they? I was like, oh, they're dragging this off. They're dragging this out. She's going to be like, hey, sorry I'm late. You know, like, just trying to be all dramatic, like, because they were trying to build drama, right? Suspense, right? He's waiting there, and I was like, oh my God, is she not coming? Like, where is she? And then you just hear, like, producers, like, in, like, the sound system or whatever, the speakers say, sorry, Uche, Aaliyah has decided to remove herself from the experiment. And I was like,
No, she didn't.
Guys, I was shooketh to my core. What? She left the experiment. What the hell happened? Because literally the last time we saw them, like, they were like, oh, like, I can't wait for you to propose. Well, I don't know if that's the exact words, but, you know, like, they were like, we're doing it. Like, it's going to be us. And she left. She left the experiment. Yo, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but they show a preview for the next coming episodes. And guys, they do show kind of like them meeting up, and they show him calling her on set, like, I want to be with you. When we see her again, she's got a different dude. I'm like, what the fudge happened? Like, why'd she shooketh? Guys, I'm not kidding to you. I was I'm coughing. That's how shocked I am. I literally have no idea what the F just happened. It was absolutely nuts. But guys, episodes 1 through 4 delivered on a level that I never thought they could deliver again. Because this show never ceases to surprise me. It's either like, they just always happen to just have the craziest shit happen. And guys, it's only been the first 4 episodes, and I can't wait to see the rest because... And also, guys, realize there's only 10 episodes because only 3 couples got engaged. It was only Stacy and Izzy, JP and Taylor, and Milton and Lydia. There's always 4, right? Am I crazy? There's always 4. Only 3 people got engaged, which is why I think there's only 10 episodes. And also, usually by episode 4, everyone has already been engaged, and episode 4 is with them on the island on their vacation honeymooning. But that's not till episode 5 this year. So, what an amazing start. What did you think of the first 4 episodes? Do you think that Lydia will be the overarching villain? Do you think that somebody else might, or take her spot? What are your thoughts on these 4 episodes so far? Because, guys, it was beauty. Delivered. Love is Blind season 5 has delivered already, and I can't wait to see the rest. But guys, if you really liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you're not already subscribed, click that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!